IISD Reporting Services is here in Nairobi covering the second UN Environment Assembly. On Friday, ministers tackled the theme, Healthy Environment, Healthy People. Delegates worked throughout the day to finalize outstanding texts on draft resolutions. With the closure of the meeting imminent, it was time to reflect. Several delegates shared their impressions with us.
So it's taken 5 months of lobbying and negotiations, but we finally have a resolution on conflict and the environment, which is brilliant. An amazing next step in the growing international interest in protection of the environment in relation to armed conflicts.
Regarding the chemicals and waste resolutions we are now having from this UNEA, for me, it's not as strong as the one we had in the previous UNEA, particularly for developing countries.
The result of 4 very long days, starting early in the morning and to finish it early in the morning again, with the tough discussions among parties, but finally to reach a consensus of the drafting group in order to provide this new resolution for the UNEA, which is an important step forward to consider natural capital.
It's encouraging to come here and see the attitude of the national governments, which you don't always get through the media. I think what's been discouraging is that they're looking so hard for how to translate their aspirations into action, and they're kind of looking out on this plain at each other, when down here are the local authorities and the farmers and the women and the indigenous groups and civil society.
I'm very disappointed that we didn't manage to come to an agreement on stakeholder policy. It seems crazy that in an area where, for example, the NGOs in a sense represent the unborn, the people who are going to inherit this planet from us, we have difficulty in getting them into the meeting.
The closing evening plenary was overshadowed by procedural wrangling and heated exchanges over voting on a draft resolution calling for UNEP to carry out environmental assessments in the Gaza Strip. Voting is a rare occurrence. Delegates typically strive to reach agreement by consensus. The vote had been requested by Israel. Delegates voted on whether to proceed to a substantive vote on the Gaza resolution. However, a lack of quorum prevented the substantive vote from taking place. After deciding against reconvening later on Saturday morning, delegates were able to put aside some of their differences and acknowledge tremendous progress made during UNEA 2. Numerous tributes were paid to outgoing Executive Director Achim Steiner for his sterling leadership and contribution during his 10 years at the helm of UNEP. UNEA 2 ultimately proved to be a mixed bag. While the adoption of 25 resolutions was welcomed, questions remain on their level of ambition. What should have been the headline ministerial outcome document was never tabled during the closing plenary, and the Secretariat was found wanting in terms of provision of legal advice and aspects of the meeting's organization. UNEA's role in delivering on the environmental dimension of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is still unclear. This calls into question whether this body is the world's parliament on the environment that it aspires to be.